Hi, I'm Kristen Amdahl with Red Heart Yarns. Today we're going to talk about the lavender and lace throw, which is a great knit project afghan for combining different types of stitch techniques. And what you're doing is alternating strips of a lace stitch pattern with strips of a textured stitch pattern. So you're only casting on 35 stitches at a time and really practicing your stitches and your techniques for texture and lace, and then combining it all by sewing it together at the end and adding an edging. So what I'm going to show you is how to work the textured stitches in one of the strips and then the lace stitches in another strip. So let's get started. Here I've already cast on 35 stitches and worked one row in knitting, just knitting straight across for the textured strip. Now this has 14 rows, and then you're going to repeat rows 3 to 14 for the repeat for the length. I think it's 66 inches. But so on the 35 stitches, you're going to follow along in the rows of the pattern, and it'll show what you repeat in brackets and then what you do individually on either side of the bracket. So let me show you what that means. Row 2 is to purl 2 stitches and then slip 1, and there's a note at the beginning of the pattern that says on this strip you're always going to slip as if to purl. So what you're going to do is pretend like you're about to purl this stitch, insert it from the front like that, and then just slip it off the needle without stitching it. Okay, so we purled 2 and then slipped 1 as if to purl. Now if you notice, there's a bracket that comes up, and what that means is that you have to pay attention to what's in the brackets, because after the brackets it's going to say to repeat what's in the brackets. So we're just going to make that note before we get started, and inside the brackets it starts with purl 5, and then slip 1 as if to purl, purl 1, and then slip 1 as if to purl, and then that's the end of the bracket. So that means we go, and it says to repeat that 3 times. So we're going to continue on with purl 5 then again, 2, 3, 4, 5, slip 1, purl 1, slip 1. So if you go back and notice on the pattern, it said to work in the brackets 3 times and then purl 5, slip 1, purl 2. So it's just a slight variation at the end from what was in the brackets. So then that ends round 2. Or sorry, row 2. We're going to start with a row 3 now, which starts with knit 2. And if you're unfamiliar with the twist stitches we're about to do, what you want to do is read the special abbreviation section first. And even if you are already familiar with them, it does help to read through it because it tells you step by step what to do. So I'm going to read it as I do it to show you what we're doing for the next stitch, which is a TW2L, which means twist 2 to the left. Okay, so to do the twist 2 to the left, what we're going to do is work into the back loop of the second stitch from the edge without pulling it off the needle, then working into the front of the first stitch on the left hand needle, and then sliding both stitches off. So what we're doing is using 2 stitches but twisting 1, and you'll see here that our work is now slanted to the left. We've got that front stitch slanted to the left, and what you've done is transpose the 2 stitches off the needles so that you're seeing them in the wrong order like that. So next we're going to knit 3, and then twist 2 to the right, which means we're going to knit into the front of the second stitch on our left hand needle without pulling it off, and then knit into the front of the first stitch on that left hand needle, then pulling both of them off together, and then you'll see we have them twisted on the needles, and now it's slanting to the right. And knit 1 more, and that's our repeat in the bracket. So now it says to repeat in the bracket 4 times, which means we'll repeat it 3 more times. So I'll show you how to do that twist to the left again. We're going to knit into the back of the second stitch without pulling it off the needle, the front of the first stitch, and then pull both off the needle. Knit 3, And then to do the right twist, we're working into the front of the second stitch on the left hand needle without pulling it off, then knitting into the front of the first stitch on the left hand needle, then sliding them both off, and a knit one. And that was the second repeat, so we'll do that one more time. I'm going to lay that down on the table, and you can maybe start to see how we have these stitches that are diagonally placed, and that's the beginning of that diamond stitch that you see in the actual stitch pattern over here. That's the beginning of that started. And again, that's rows 1 through 14, and then you're going to repeat rows 3 to 14 for the remainder of the 66 inches. Strip 2 is our lace stitch pattern. Okay, so we've already cast on 35 stitches. I did the first row of the pattern row, 1 row of the purl, and every even numbered row or wrong side row is going to be straight purling on this. And then the right side row is where we do a combination of stitches to create the lace stitch pattern. And they're all unique for the 12 row repeat, and then you repeat the 12 rows for the remainder of the 66 inches. So I'm going to start with a row 3 here, and we start with a knit 2. And then if you notice on your pattern, the bracket comes up again, and what that means is that everything in the bracket gets repeated, and here it says repeat it 4 times. So just make a special note in your head at this point that whatever we're starting at the bracket here, that's where we're going back to. And this one says to yarn over, knit 1, then SKP. SKP means to slip 1, and if you notice there's a note on this pattern that says all slip stitches are slipped as if to knit on this one. So we're slipping as if to knit, so we're going to from the front to the back like that, and then knit the next one, and then pass that slip stitch up and over the knit stitch, and that's our SKP. So we did a yarn over, knit 1, SKP, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, and that's the end of our bracket, which means we go back and start at the beginning of the bracket again, which is a yarn over, knit 1, SKP, which is slip 1 as if to knit, knit 1, pass the slip stitch over, knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1. We've repeated the second pass through the bracket, so we have to do it 4 times. So we'll do it again, and that's the end of the bracket series, and then there's one more stitch, and if you notice right outside the brackets it says to knit 1. Now on your even numbered row going forward is going to be a purl across, and then each of the other odd numbered rows for the 12 row repeat have a different sequence of these same stitches, which is what gives you that curving lines because they're differently placed in each of them, so to create the beautiful stitch pattern. So you repeat the 12 rows stitch pattern for 66 inches and then bind off. You'll make 2 strips of the lace strip, 3 strips of the textured strip, and then you're going to sew them together, make the edging to go all around them, and that's how you make your stitch sampler lavender and lace throw. This pattern and many more are available on the website, so please come check it out at redheart.com.